What is going on, guys? It's your boy Jim here, bringing you a brand new gameplay commentary on the brand new first-person shooter title Xdefiant from everyone's favorite studio, Ubisoft, or Ubisoft. I actually never know how to pronounce that word, but hey, that's not what the video is about. This video is going to be my very first impressions of Xdefiant. I played a good 3 to 4 hours last night. This is actually my very first game. The gameplay you're seeing is my very first game, I believe. Playing a little bit of escort here and just kind of getting a feel for the game itself. Having a lot of fun, but there are some pros, there are some cons, and there are some things that I'd like to see tweaked as the game grows and as it gets bigger and, you know, hopefully gets the support that it deserves, because honestly, they have something really good here and I would like to see them do something special with it rather than just 2 years from now it be a dead game that no one talks about. You know, I'm looking at you, Battlefield. So like I said, starting with the pros, and then we'll move on to the cons towards the end of the video, and I'll kind of talk about each of these pros and each of these cons a little bit more in depth, trying to offer like my ideas and suggestions as to how to make these things better, or how to make, you know, the cons not quite as bad, because some of the cons are going to be tied directly to the nature of the game, and that's okay, but there are going to be some ways to minimize those cons. So starting with the pros. First and foremost, the gameplay is very fluid. There's never a moment that I feel out of the action. And part of that has to do with the amazing map design. The guys that are involved in this game did a really great job. I almost wonder if some of them have some like Call of Duty backgrounds. I know Mark Rubin obviously does, but there are some very key design elements that make these maps flow very well. There's never a moment where I'm like, hey, this area feels very open and this area feels very closed. Why is a natural bottleneck, right? That doesn't happen. Like in the newer Call of Duties, a lot of times there will be a flag that's in a very natural bottleneck, but it opens up into the most open area in the world. So if you're coming onto that flag, trying to rush like a B domination, for instance, you're gonna get instantly mopped by the guys that are just sitting inside the chokehold, right? That doesn't feel like the case with Xdefiant. It feels like the area around all of these flags, the area around all of these capture points, the area around, you know, all the most important parts of the map have openings and have closings and have bottlenecks and chokes and all kinds of things that make the maps flow very evenly. I never feel like I'm like, wow, major disadvantage to be on this side of the map. Doesn't really happen. And with that comes this very natural gameplay flow where I'm running. Oh, there's two people. I'm either gonna win this gunfight or I'm not. And then if I die, I'm right back in the action. I'm not running from, you know, the other side of town to get back into a gunfight. It's very easily accessible every moment of the game to go from point A to point B to point C without necessarily feeling like I'm in a walking simulator. And that's a really good thing to see. The second pro that I had written down was the diversity of the maps. They all feel unique, they all feel different, and they all flow in a very functional way, like I already kind of mentioned. But more specifically, the design allows for these very beautiful, very vibrant maps to not feel chaotic. They feel very controlled and very, very nuanced in that way. So you have a map, you know, that has very strict corridors and very strict hallways and very strict like corners and areas to peek and look and turn. And that map kind of adheres to that play style, right? It's really good for shotguns, really good for SMGs. In more recent first-person shooters, not just Call of Duty, but all the first-person shooters that I've played recently, that's not a thing. Hey, I have an AR, hey, I have an SMG. Doesn't matter because, you know, doesn't matter how the game flows, right? You can just grab whatever gun you want, run into the battlefield without a care in the world, and you're going to get kills. That's not really how Xdefiant plays. Sure, you may be able to have some success with an assault rifle on a close quarters map, but you're going to be way better off using a shotgun or an SMG. And that's something that I love, is having to pick a class for a situation. And that is really well done with this map design. It's very unique. Every map flows in a very different way. I mean, Liberty, for instance, you've got these big open areas, but you've also got these very closed off, like central, like corridors almost, like towards the right and left of the map, where, hey, you can go up and down those sides with an SMG, but God forbid you got to try and get on the B flag, you're going to get melted by a guy with a marksman rifle from, you know, his spawn. So you kind of have to play it according to the way the map is built, and that is something that I am a huge fan of personally. Third pro, the weapon customization is very simple. I love the simplicity of this weapon customization. There are 5 attachments, and then there's a couple of classifications of attachment. That's it. You got a sight, a suppressor, a barrel, you know, whatever. It is boom, 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 boom. There's not 38. I mean, in Call of Duty, I think there's like 75 sights, something stupid. I mean, there's a dozen different barrels, a dozen different magazine attachments. It's such a simplistic weapon setup. It almost feels like an older COD, like Black Ops 2 or something, where they're like, dude, you get 2 attachments. You get 2 attachments, go nuts. And if you don't like those 2 attachments, go pound sand, right? It's very, very evenly layered. You get those couple of attachments and you don't have to go crazy. You don't got to change up your play style. Very, very simple. Really happy with it, quite frankly. The final thing for the pros is factions are a side. They're not the main course. Loving that. I'm really, really happy about the fact that I never feel like these factions are just dominating the gameplay, right? In other shooters like that have tried this hero thing, it becomes the main element of the game. Whether it's Valorant or Overwatch or even like Black Ops 3 back in the day, you had these agents, you had these heroes, you had these, whatever they call them for that game, and their abilities and their utilities and their ultimates became the entire focal piece of the game that we were playing. And I didn't like that. I loved Overwatch. I was a big fan of Overwatch, but that was just, one little flavor of that. And the focus was that, but there were some games where, like Black Ops 3 for instance, it was almost like they didn't know what they wanted to be. Was it all about the gunplay? Was it all about the maps? Was it all about the mobility? Or was it all about the heroes and the utility and their ultimates and their power-ups, etc.? This doesn't feel like that. Sure, there are really strong, really helpful utilities in this game. I love the napalm drone, I love the healing canister, I love that big mobility shield. They're all great. But they don't feel like they dominate the centerpiece of the game. They all feel like, hey, here's another little thing that you can do to kind of make this game feel a little bit more personalized to you. And I like that. It isn't trying to be the focal point. The focal points are gunplay. The focal points are maps. The focal play is the speed and the chaos and the game sense. That's what they're kind of focusing on. And everything else is just kind of a nice little side dish, and it just, chef's kiss, it's the cherry on top. Love the way they handled the factions in this game. I do have 4 cons, but they're minimal. The first one is the limited weapons. I'm sure this will change as the game gets better, or as the game goes on, rather, not better. They're going to add more guns. I'm hoping that's the case because there are only a couple of guns. I don't love that. Wish there were a couple more. The second thing is there's no kill streaks. Those are the other two, things that are missing. The lack of kill streaks, in my opinion, just really stinks. I would love to have even basic stuff, UAVs, cruise missiles, maybe a care package kill streak. Doesn't have to be anything crazy, or even let me know if I'm streaking, right? There's obviously a big notification that says kill streak, but let the lobby know. Put something, like of an announcer, Jim is on an incredible streak, something like that. Get the Halo announcer out of retirement to figure out what he's doing, and spice it up a little bit. Make it known that I'm streaking, because right now what I'm focusing on more so is the wins, and the wins are great. Don't get me wrong. I'm loving winning these games and getting those close victories, or those big, huge, wide margin victories. That's great, but I would also like to get some credit, some pats on the back for getting these big, huge kill streaks. That would make me feel really good. Would love that. Last thing, there's 2 more things. Little grindy. Anyone else thinking this is a little bit grindy? Man, I feel like I've been using my M4 for a minute now, and it's level 10. Apparently there's 100 levels to get to gold. I don't know how I feel about that. That's a lot of levels. Feels very grindy. I grabbed the AK, played 4 games with it. I got a red dot now. I would like to get some more attachments for my guns a little faster. I would like to get some camos for my guns a little bit faster. It's a little grindy for my taste, and I'm hoping they kind of smooth that over as the game goes on. And the last thing is the gameplay can sometimes feel a little bit chaotic. I know I mentioned earlier that the game flows very well, and it does, but sometimes that flow is chaos. Sometimes what I'm experiencing is, hey, Escort's a great example. I've pushed up to 85% to the capture. Well, now we're closer to the enemy's spawn. Well, these dudes just keep flocking out of there. I'll get a triple kill, turn to my right, there's 4 guys. There's only 6 players on each team. How are there 4 when I just killed 3 of them? It's this very weird sense of genuinely organized chaos is kind of what I feel like it is. There will be times where there's 4 grenades on my screen. Everyone just throws a grenade, then this guy runs over, he has a napalm drone and a flamethrower, and then the other guy comes up, he's invisible, and there's this boom, 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 real fast-paced action, chaotic nonsense, and I kind of wish that would get subdued a little bit. And one of the ways that I kind of thought that might get better is if there was a small respawn delay for all the game modes, regardless of what you were playing. If there was maybe a 2-second respawn delay, that might minimize some of that chaotic feeling, because everybody would kind of be more cautious about their lives. They wouldn't just be throwing their lives on the line, dying every single time they get on a point because, hey, you know, doesn't matter anyway. Let's get on that point. Boom, you're dead. Well, that doesn't matter anyway, right? I'm just gonna respawn instantly, and because like I said, you're never out of the action for too long. If you're able to just run back onto the point in 3 seconds, the death doesn't even really matter. It's almost like I'll get like 3 kills. I'll feel like I'm crushing it, and then boom, I'm dead again because I didn't kill the 4th and 5th and 6th guy. You know, you got to almost ace to get a domination point in this game, and that chaos can feel a little unearned sometimes. But yeah, those are my genuine, honest feelings about Ubisoft's new game, Xdefiant. I'm honestly ranking this, gosh, I hadn't really given it much thought. Like out of 10, I'm giving it, you know, maybe a 7.5, almost an 8. I'm really enjoying it. I hope there's room to grow for this game. I hope that it continues to get better, and I hope that it pushes other shooters to change up their feeling. You know, the lack of skill-based matchmaking is really an interesting concept, and I'm hoping that it sticks around. So, as always, guys, please like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video. Ring the notification bell and check out the links in the bio. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.